Hello and welcome to the second session. This is our first base coat, and it's really, when I get into this, it's not going to look like much. Really, it's just going to look like a lot of colors placed on like I'm doing coloring. But that's basically what it is. You're preparing the canvas for more mid-ground details and then getting into layers and layers. When you paint this painting, and it's a painting with a nice lion, and you want to get your background, and then you move to your foreground. So we're going to start out with the background colors, and you start out with the darker colors and the lighter colors on top. Because it's most impossible to do it in reverse. So what I have here on the canvas is I have Tathium white, I have a medium orange, I have a forest green, and then I have this black. I think it's Mars black. And these are base colors in acrylics. I use the base colors in the beginning because I'm going to mix into it later more. So the first thing you're going to do, start out with the background. We'll get the top. You have on the top you have the background, which is the forest, and down here you have water. And there's a bit of it into. So you take a little bit of the Mars black into the green, and I'm going to mix that in. So we want to get the color mixed in really well. These mixing knives come in handy. And a little bit of the white. Not too much. And you want to have that mid-tone of green. You want to go to, it might be a little bit dark. A bit more white. Don't worry about making mistakes on this, because you can always remix. Acrylics are really great that way. And that's a great mid-tone color. And then you want to do is you want to have different levels of that same color. So now I'm going to take a little bit more of this green, the next section, and add more white to it, and get a lighter color. And I'm going to make those two values. That's a little bit light. So if you make a mistake, you can always just add a little bit more. And this is going to be the base colors for our background. You want to make sure you have enough to cover the whole canvas. It should do pretty much everything for the top. Now that you have that, you take your large brush. I like this size for backgrounds. It's nice flat. It's a good 2-inch wide. It's going to cover the whole surface. You're not going to have to fight with this small brush to do it. And don't worry about being close to edges or anything, because you're going to paint over the top of it later on. So now, with a little bit of water in the brush, not too much, you just want it to be damp. You're going to start with the darkest color. So we start with dark colors first. Might need a little more paint in there. And it's going to be a good amount of water. Not too much. You don't want it to be like a water paint, but you want it to be a good amount of paint in the brush and fill it really well. So you can cover the entire area. You start with this, and then the entire canvas is coated. We're going to start up here. Just kind of go right along the edge of the line you've drawn. Don't worry about perfection. And just kind of fill it in. Get that area covered as well. You're going to see streaks in it. That's okay, because this is the background. And you just kind of back and forth until you get that smooth finish. Don't worry about if I've gone over, because later on we're going to do that. Fix that. And the thing about this, when you add enough water, is you can see the lines through your paint, so you don't lose your reference. Try to get as close as I can to the basis of the animal, and try to keep from covering too much of it, and just kind of work your way around. This brush works good because it's kind of gives you a chiseled edge. Then once you have that, you take a dry brush 1 inch dry, no water, and just kind of over the top, just to give it that smooth finish. And you're going to go over the top, it doesn't matter. You just don't want the streaks. And you just keep going and just kind of work it in and get those streaks out of the paint. You'll see when you're done, you can still see the lines as you're going through if you look close. Now we're going to go to the next color value and bring it down a little in color because it gets lighter. So the thick thing about depth of the painting is that the colors become more vibrant when you're close and they get muted out when you get further away. So you want to keep that in mind when you're doing this, and so you want a lighter color toward the center here, and then it gets darker, but then there's more sharp in the front, and it's muted out more in the background because it's blurred. Because when you look at an object up close, it's sharp, but if you look beyond the object, it's blurred. So we do the same thing at the bottom. And add a little white and get it lighter toward the middle, like I said. Not too much, just enough to bring the color down some. And we're going to blend those two colors together. Right now it's not blended, but we're just going to get there. And the same thing's true here. You can still see the lines through as you get closer to the end. And then I'm going to bring a little more white in. We have a water that's coming around the front here. We want to show that water edge. Now it's changing closer to the animal. And that's going to suggest the water line. And then just blend it. And then you take your dry brush again. Now you have to make sure that you, in between using your dry brush, that you clean out the other color, or you're just going to mix darker color into it. That's the first step. Now, next you want to block out the animal, because now that you've got your background, we're going to let it dry a little bit. We're going to want to block it out, and that's going to be the next step.